Hello, this is Reverend Don Lewis coming to you from beautiful Central Illinois. And our question today was not actually a question but a comment from Gypsy Sorceress, who wrote to say, "You are always very well dressed." And I thought that considering the subject matter of yesterday's vlog, which had to do with self-image and presentation, that this would be a good follow-up. And in fact, I dress very intentionally. And the way that I dress has to do with a lot of different things, including my upbringing, the way that I think of myself, but also the way that I want to be perceived. Even the fact that I wear long hair is quite intentional and has its reasons. So nothing about my appearance has been unconsidered. It does have to do a lot with how I like to dress, but it also is very much a strategy. And what I would say to people in the pagan community is we spend a lot of time worrying about being taken seriously, and yet we do not present ourselves in a manner to be taken seriously, and often sabotage that very goal by the way that we present ourselves. And I think this is something that individual pagans, not the community, because it isn't really a decision at a community level, but individual pagans need to put a lot more thought into. How do people react to the way you present yourself? They react pretty well to how I present myself. And there are other pagan leaders who could say the same thing, and there are others who, if they were honest, would have to say that their appearance puts people off. And sometimes this can be appropriate, it can be made into a learning moment, but more often it's a stumbling block because that learning moment never comes. My good friend Pete Pathfinder once told me a story about how he came to join the Washington State Interfaith Council. And when he came to join this council, many years ago, there was opposition in the local Wiccan community. They didn't think he was the ideal person to represent them, and they complained to the Interfaith Council. And the council scheduled a meeting where they could come and express their concerns, and the council would hear. So the day for the meeting came, and the opposition group showed up, dressed all in black with lots of silver pentacles, you know the type. And Pete came dressed very conservatively in a tweed jacket, and he said that he could see the council members looking from one to the other, looking from the black and silver pentagrams to the tweed jacket, and he could see the wheels turning in their heads. And needless to say, he did become a member of the council. Eventually he became the president of the council, and part of this had to do with the fact he spoke their language. And speaking people's language is very important if you want them to understand you. If you're not speaking their language, it's not surprising if they misunderstand. And when we speak about speaking a person's language, it's a verbal thing, but it can also be a visual thing. Now, this doesn't mean that you should run out and ape whatever the latest fashion is or remake yourself. It does mean that you need to consider the effect of your appearance. You can look very different from most people and still have a strong positive effect. So it doesn't mean you must be a cookie cutter, but if you're going to be in a position of leadership, it does mean you should think about it. And you must realize that this really does have an important effect in terms of how people react to you and how seriously they do or do not take you. So I hope that gives you something to think about, and until next time, may you blessed be.